Hi, and welcome back to Bonding with the Book, Chapter Book Edition, The Unicorn Rescue Society. Today, we are going to dig into Chapter 8. Oh my goodness, last chapter was really exciting. But first, you know how we start each class. We start each class with a joke. Here's our joke of the day. Our joke of the day is, what did the glue say to the teacher? Do you know what it is? The answer is, I'm stuck on you. Yeah, I like that one. It's a teacher joke. I really like it. And now it's time for our Chapter 7 recap. Chapter 7, I think we should call that Elliot Becomes Brave. Let's break that down. So, for the first time since this entire book started, we are watching Elliot become super duper brave. And we know he's super cautious and kind of scary, goes into the bushes. Now, you know what I say, when we make a statement, we always look, you know what to say in a book to find our answer. So let's go to chapter 7, which is on page 31 if we're all sharing the same book, right? He stood there and he was afraid. It says right here after the first paragraph, so he stood there, legs trembling. So he was afraid. We know he's not the bravest lion in the pack, but he did something that we were really shocked to find out. On page 32, it even says he shocked himself. He found himself following Uchenna into the bushes. What? I did not see that coming. Were you surprised? I was surprised. And then, like they say, no good deed goes unpunished. He trips and he falls and he's got thorns in his face. And then, boom! His face is shocked and he sees Uchenna and her face is, but we don't know what happens. So now we are really excited to get into chapter 8. But before we read chapter 8, let's frame our thinking so we can be prepared for the chapter. Would you help a wounded animal if you saw it? For me, I wouldn't. Like it says, would I help a wounded animal? I personally would not. I'd call somebody to help the animal, but I'm not gonna go and physically put my hand on said wounded animal because I'm afraid the animal will snap it off. But that's just me. What about you? Would you help a wounded animal? Another thought. What is your scariest encounter with an animal? My scariest encounter with an animal was when I was a lot younger. There is this really big dog, and he was behind a little bitty fence, and he got out. You talk about running for my life, even though that's not what you're supposed to do, but that, I'm alive to tell the tale, but boy, oh boy, was I scared. What about you? What's your scariest encounter with an animal? And now it's time to read. I invite you to cozy up with your book and lend me your ear as we read Chapter 8 in the Unicorn Rescue Society. Chapter 8. It had a body like a tiny deer's, but it had wings and claws on its front leg and hooves on its back and sharp teeth, and it was blue, except for its belly and its wings, which were red, and a face that looked, more than anything, like a tiny dragon's. Elliot would have been insanely terrified, except for the fact that it was rather small, about the size of a cat. Also, it was completely caught in a tangle of pink ribbon. Good gracious, Elliot muttered. What is that thing? No idea, breathed Uchenna. They watched the little creature. It was rolling around on the sunny ground, trying to escape the loops of ribbon that wound around its chest and neck. Maybe we should help it? Uchenna said. Absolutely not. Do not touch it under any circumstances. Wild creatures can be incredibly dangerous. The little creature continued to fight with the ribbon. The harder it fought, the tighter the ribbon seemed to constrict. After another moment, the animal fell still. Its tiny flank rose and fell, rose and fell. It was struggling to breathe. I think it's in more danger than we are, Uchenna said. She moved toward the strange animal, dragging her knees across the sunny clearing. Careful, Elliot hissed, but Uchenna was purring. Shh, she purred. Shh. The animal caught sight of her. One of its large round eyes focused on her. Uchenna inched forward. The creature started to growl deep in its throat. Uchenna, Elliot whispered, this is a horrible idea. But Uchenna just purred. Shh. And still, her knees slid over the muddy turf. She reached out her hand. The little beast was still growling. She touched its forehead. Slowly, she ran her hand over the long ridge of its skull. It's soft, Uchenna whispered, and velvety. It's kind of nice. You're kidding. Uchenna stroked the creature's head again and again. After a while, it stopped growling at her. Its eyelids, which came from the sides of its eyes, began to flutter. Its red wings curled up against its body. It exhaled through the two round nostrils at the end of its blue snout. Its body began to relax. Okay, Uchenna whispered. Now, come over here and take this stuff off of it. What? Elliot cried. The animal's eyes shot open. Shh. Uchenna hissed at Elliot, and then she started to purr again. Shh. She continued to stroke the creature's blue head. After a moment, the little beast's eyelids closed once more. Now, Uchenna whispered, quietly, come over here and take this ribbon off. Fine, Elliot snapped, but if I die, I'm suing you. Right, that makes sense. Elliot, very unhappily, let his hands fall into the mud, and then he began crawling on all fours towards the creature. When he arrived, he breathed through his nose, set his chin, and then reached out for the ribbon that was wrapped around the animal's neck. It was twisted into a loop. He took hold of it. Shh, Uchenna murmured. Slowly, Elliot pulled the loop over the creature's head. Suddenly, its eyes opened. Ah! Elliot screamed. It was a trap! Shh, Uchenna hissed. The little creature jumped up, the ribbon now around its jaw and over one eye. Elliot and Uchenna fell backward. It was a trap, Elliot mumbled. It was a trap! The beast growled at them, one eye free, round, and furious. It wasn't a trap, Uchenna hissed. You just scared it! The animal tried to snap at them, but the ribbon held its mouth closed. Its claws dug into the earth. Shh, Uchenna purred, but the creature was done being soothed. It was angry. Whoa! I did not see that coming. First off, Uchenna is super brave. She went out and tried to help the animal, and then Elliot What? He's grabbing ribbon and pulling it, and then the animals, and they still help. Whoa. And now, on the very last line, it says, shh, Eugena's trying to calm him down, but the creature was done being sued. He was angry. This is what they saw. I would not help that. I would run for an adult. They helped that. I seriously cannot wait to read the next chapter. What about you? That brings us to the end of the chapter question. Our end of the chapter question is, what should Uchenna do? I really don't know what Uchenna should do, and I can't wait to hear what you think she should do. But before we walk away, you know what time it is. It is time for you to make your chapter 9 predictions. What do you think is gonna happen, huh? Is Uchenna gonna get bit? Is Elliot gonna get bit? Are they gonna run away and leave the creature with its mouth wrapped up? What on earth is going to happen? I'm so excited. I'm scared for that, but I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, this book is getting more and more interesting. And that's it. Whew, that was a journey in that little chapter. So I cannot wait to read with you chapter 9 and find out what actually happens. I'll talk to you all later. Bye.